Hello, everyone. It's Tim here. I don't know how you found or watching or hearing this video, um, but basically, I've decided I want to share some thoughts on certain subjects, and for some reason, this is the first subject I felt compelled that I wanted to talk about. The Liver King. It's something that I follow a lot of what's going on in the mainstream, and I talk about it occasionally to my friends, but I don't always, not always around people that get to talk about it in depth. And I just thought this is a good opportunity for the maybe few hundred of you that are either subscribe through Spotify, that get it through Spotify. And I'm actually filming it as well, so you might find a YouTube link somewhere, but I don't want to put this on my main channel. We can discuss that another time, but I feel shy to just kind of make this content and put it on my main channel about these kind of subjects. But I wanted to share anyway. And so the Liver King situation is just one that's interesting. It's just an interesting thing to analyze and break down. So I'm not doing this to judge or attack the Liver King at all, but I can't promise that judgment won't come through. I'm not perfectly compassionate human, as I hope to one day be, as we can all aspire to. But so it might creep through. My soul, the soul does dominate this. People could call it the subconscious, creeps through. But I will try to be compassionate and understanding, but also just I think it's a good opportunity for us to analyze the state of the current, the influencer culture, the health industry, because this kind of entails all the things that I'm really intertwined with. So the Liver King, for those that don't know, was basically appeared out of nowhere like a year and a half ago as this very jacked, bearded guy who never wore a shirt and was promoting what he called an ancestral diet, something that I've got experience in a little bit. Like I've done the carnivore diet for some time. I've definitely experimented with a lot of diets. But essentially, he came out of nowhere and was promoting what he called the ancestral tenets, a way of living aligned with nature, which a lot of it sounded like good advice, good intentions. For me, I first saw him, I think, on Instagram. Someone shared me in a video about him sleeping on a hard bed or a hard or a wooden surface or something like that, and with an EMF protected room. There are two things that I've done. I've bought EMF protected cage, slept in that for a period of time. I've slept on the floor for quite a period of time. So things that I'm like, okay, I've been about this life, this health journey, and there's this guy who's shouting about this stuff now, and he's got this following. He's got quite a striking cartoonish look about him, and someone shared it with me, and I just thought, okay, another guy who's just done the route that I've done, that many of us have done, that have discovered some things that we believe are truths and are in that period, the honeymoon period of the discoveries, and just want to scream and shout about them. And I've done this many times with many discoveries, and over time, you kind of, if you're attentive enough and I guess humble enough, it does humble you, in a sense. If you have integrity, you're like, okay, well, I thought I felt something and maybe I did. And there's definitely factors of living in alignment with nature that are important. But to say this is like the savior of our health is a sometimes a push to say that. And so here's a guy that's screaming he's eating a carnivore diet. I guess the main theme is that liver is the most nutrient dense food on the planet, and that it's the healthiest food to eat, and that he loves liver and eats a lot of liver, along with a heavy, pretty much promoting a carnivore diet and all this stuff. And his health is ridiculous. And I guess the selling point was his body. He's so jacked, and ripped and muscular, and it's because of the way that he lives. And so you can have this ripped body too, which is the central theme of most of the fitness industry. Is you can have this as well if you listen to what I say and live the way I live, and his, how he makes his money by the supplements that I'm selling. I'm promoting these ancestral supplements. And so my journey of following him, I seen him on that, and then I'd seen clips come up on YouTube of him on, like, Logan Paul. They asked him about his steroids and he flat out denied it. He was with Mark Bell. He flat out denied it. And he was also on Stephen Ice Coffee Hour. I watched more. The most Liver King I watched was on this. And I kind of liked him. I thought he's got a positive message. He's trying to be compassionate to these people. He seemed quite loving in that instance. I'd also seen him on Caleb Presley's Sunday Conversations, which, by if the way, this is just a a tip for live and YouTube comedy right now. Caleb Presley is the funniest man on YouTube. For people that don't know him, just search Sunday Conversations and watch one of his. They're quite shortcut interviews, comedy. He's just a comedy genius for me. But anyway, look, Liver King was on his podcast, or was on his one episode of this, and it was quite funny. And they asked him about steroids. Again, flat out denied it. Now, I don't know enough about steroids. I don't know anything about steroids, other than knowing that I think that it's much more rife than we realize, than the mainstream seems to realize within sport. I'm aware of that, but I don't really know what it looks like. So when he's flat out denying it, I mean, it looks, you guess that he does it, but I'm someone who likes to take people at face value, and I think I get it. There's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of like rewards within that. You know, you can find things where if you're too pessimistic and skeptical off the bat, you can close down a lot of opportunities. So I like to take someone at face value until I see clearly otherwise. You know, or there's something in their demeanor that's suspicious. And because I don't know enough about steroids, and he's flat out denying it, and then he's promoting other stuff which seems to be about compassion and living in alignment with nature, I thought maybe he's not on steroids. Maybe this is just, you know, genetic freak or whatever it is. I don't know. Now, to other people who are in that industry, they're saying it's very clear he is. And now looking back, imagine, you know, on Mark Bell's podcast, flat out denying it to someone like Mark Bell. I feel like he must have been like, come on, dude, like, or even off the radar, off the record when he was off camera, they were like, discussed it off camera. But to have this persona of promoting natural living and then to be doing steroids and then flat out completely deny it when questioned about it is just a huge red flag about everything, you know, mainly about motives for what you're doing, and like where's the integrity in that. um and so basically, More Plates, More Dates, Derek, who's a pretty good YouTube channel. Like I watch his stuff on and off over time. I'm like fascinated. Seems like a pretty humble dude, and just straight analyzes. And he's not that judgmental of people. He'll just call it out. But then the other night I was at home, and then suddenly I see this video pop up on YouTube, and it said the Liver King lie, and I thought, okay, I was just starting to watch Derek's channel a bit more again recently, and then this pops up, and it's just kind of that circling of the Liver King in my awareness, and then seeing this come up, I thought I'll give this a watch. And so in between going to my nephew's birthday party, I started to watch it on the drive over, and then finished it when I got back. It basically exposes that the Liver King had sent all these emails to, I think it was was it a rugby coach, strength coach, or I don't know, some sort of strength coach, or I'm not sure, professional in the UK. I think they were telling him what he was on, and asking, I think basically asking for a full cycle. And these emails were, and it was a lot of back and forth. And it was quite interesting to see the way Liver King speaks to someone in emails when it's off the record, and how kind of, how would I put it, needy, and like when it felt like I could feel from his writing that when he wants something from you, he act like really sucked up to the guy and said, give you, you know, pay whatever you want kind of thing. And then got the analysis. The guy asked him for some pose shots, and he just straight up was like, no, too busy for that, don't know what they are, kind of thing. And just, it was just funny how once he had the guy on his side, he didn't really want to play ball and work with the guy. Just the guy had to work with him. Anyway, just a random analysis of his emails, but it came out that he was on all this different stuff, these different drugs, EPOs, juice, and I don't know too much about the names or anything like that, but basically it was about $12,000 per month of steroid use. And there was another email that someone that worked for Liver King had emailed to More Plates, More Dates, Derek, directly, so separately. So there's several pieces of evidence showing that there was discussions of Liver King using steroids, and he was wanted Derek to help, basically. And so these emails were quite interesting. And it also shared about the diet that he was actually eating, and that he was eating almond butter and honey and sweet potatoes, not purely the carnivorous diet he's kind of promoting when he's eating this stuff on the side. Interestingly, he said he eats carbs when he's earned it, and I think that's something I can relate to, and a lot of people can relate to, of this kind of, well, it's an emotional injury where we feel that we have to earn certain foods. That's a trait of a problem right there. Like, you can only eat stuff if you've earned it, rather than just a natural awareness of what we can and can't eat, which I think we're all capable of at some stage. But I think with our diet in modern society is just such a huge gulf between, I don't know, many people that can actually eat balanced in current society and fully tune in, like intuitive eating. And yeah, a lot of us maybe like to think we can, but I don't know. I'm someone who's definitely struggled with dietary issues, so I can recognize it when he says something like, "I only eat carbs when I've earned it," and it's the kind of like self, punishing attitude that he clearly carries. One thing that was kind of funny with this, Gota got thrown under the bus in this whole thing because within the 1 hour documentary on the Liver King lie, they used fraud and charlatans of the health and fitness industry, and they kind of used Gota as a hallmark example of charlatans, which I don't think is completely fair. So God bless Gota, but they use them as an example just because you don't understand something. I don't think if the guy had a better understanding of it and then still talked about it that way, I feel like, but I don't think he's tried to understand it. I think he's just called them charlatans without having an open mind to what they're actually teaching. So I do feel for Gota with that, getting thrown under the bus with Liver, because they're not like on the same scale of the deceit. I mean, there's a lot of arrogance about their approach to stuff, but compared to what the Liver King, for me, this is a big lie. This is a huge lie. And so to say, flat out deny you're on steroids, promote a lifestyle that makes you an incredibly wealthy man. Said he's making $100 million this year, or that number's been thrown around, $100 million. From promoting this, from being an influencer, from a rise to in Instagram, social media celebrity, to be able, I have such a minute following. I've definitely had a big following in the past, a bigger following, not, I'd never say ever big, but a fraction probably of where I once was if I hadn't changed my mind about certain situations, which I've always, been transparent at the right time about. When you promote stuff and you do it right, and you've got people that trust you, you can like, I've been able to live off that. I've not bought a house, I've not got a fancy car or anything, but I've been able to live off that. So when I'm a fraction of what I once was, and he is, hundreds or thousands of times bigger than I've ever been, I can only imagine the financial, like, well, I mean, the $100 million thrown out there, isn't it? Which is crazy, right? So here's a man who's got absolute abundance, financial abundance, from saying, live this way in alignment with nature. You can look like me. I'm completely natural. My testosterone's through the roof because I sun my balls and all these practices, which, sure, I've done that stuff, but I'm not gonna promote. I guess isn't to compare, right? I don't want to make it about myself, but just as reference points. It's a lie. It's not. Your whole premise is built off of a lie, and it's steroids themselves are lie. It's one thing to do steroids and admit it, and in my eyes, that's still a lie, because yes, intellectually, verbally, you said the truth of what you do. That's a huge step, but the fact that your body isn't a true representation of what your body is, because it's been genetically modified, it's been edited the same way people have lip filler and face surgeries and boob jobs and stuff. You're using steroids, that's an enhancement, performance enhancement. It's an enhancement. It's not the truth, and that can completely become a debate. For me, that's inorganic, and then you can say what is organic. Because I had a friend who was from the UK, did parkour, quite a skinny guy, Andy, moved to Texas. I met him in Texas, and he was jacked. And I don't think he was doing steroids or anything. I think he was just eating the Texan beef or the Texan meat. And, there's that discussion to be had of, if you eat meat, whether animals have had steroids, does that then pass down? Because that was my take on that. That was my intuitive take, was like, wow, he's jacked, he's eating the local beef. And the conversation with him that I had, it just seemed like that was. And if you ever walk through, or if you're ever in America, or you go through an airport, almost any airport in America, and you see the size of some of the people there, and the size of some of the asses and the hips, and you're like, how is that natural? It's genetically modified. And whether it's, I don't imagine those people are doing steroids, but it's the genetic modification of the animals, to the steroids put in the animals, to the people eating it. There's some trickle down effect. So fundamentally, we're all inorganic. But if you're at this current society we live in, if you're opting to inject, and however way that you take $12,000 per month worth of steroids to look the way you are, to promote a lifestyle, and then to say, which we'll get to in a minute in his apology video, that there's a time and a place for steroids. There's a time and a place to not be natural, and that's when I deem that it's okay to not be natural. That's what it kind of came down to. But for me, steroids is a lie, because it's fake, even if you admit it. Like, whoever, some people, I guess there's not even that many, but within the industry, that will admit it, it's still a lie. The same way that to be real is to be truthful, to be fake is to be living a lie. So and I guess we can, that's the whole conversation to be had, is like assessing why people feel the need to alter the way they look. And fundamentally, that's going to come down to insecurity, like not faith in the way we're designed, not self-love enough in just things as they are, that you feel that you will earn love from other people, which we can, go right back to it. Fundamentally, it comes to our parents. That's what I feel like with my dad and my sporting endeavors, to earn love from my dad, because that's how he showed me love. So this, we can all come back to parents, but either way, we cannot go that deep. We can just say it's to earn respect from other humans, from other people, from other men, because we look a certain way. And then when we get compliments on that, we feel that that's love, but then it never actually fills that void. We're just constantly having to chase that feeling even more, and chase more approval and more followers and more income, to go on more podcasts with people that we respect and get our voice, our names in, spoken about by people that we want to be talking about us. And that's kind of what it all comes down to with the Liver King. And not just the Liver King, so many influences in general, so much of the fitness industry in general, myself, I throw myself in there. It's certainly at heightened times in the past, there is a narcissistic element that comes from an insecurity and a desire to want to prove ourselves, to want to be someone, to want to be known, to want to be a savior. There's a certain messiah complex within many people, and I think that's within the Liver King as well. He wants to be seen as the one to bring this diet, to bring this lifestyle to people at whatever cost, even if it means lying here or there, one or two lies along the way, because the message is more important and the goal is more important. Well, for me, I won't accept that, especially the knowing that you're lying, knowing that you're flat out lying, and then to justify that as though that's okay. I mean, I'm not the decider, and everyone's going to do what they want to do. So it's even unloving of me to have any expectations of people in any way, or to have any demands on how people act, or to feel a certain way. That's just for me to feel and not project. But he, in his apology video, so I watched his apology on Instagram, and it was one of the world's worst apologies I've ever seen. And then my friend Lewis said, oh, he's done an apology on YouTube as well. So I thought, before I do this talk, I was gonna last night I was lying in bed and I was like, you know what, I want to just get on a microphone and just talk about this situation and just put it out there, even if it's just 100 people, 200 people. You guys, I appreciate you for just digging deep in, just to be, I don't know, however you've been able to come across this podcast. But I thought, let me just watch this video. And he basically justifies lying because people are killing themselves and people are hurting in society and men are committing suicide. And so that justifies him lying because it can help get people out. And while I'm not denying that he may have helped people, and he has definitely inspired people in some ways. When it's built off a lie, how far, like, is that help gonna go? Because it's not built off love. If there's not truth involved, there's not love involved. If it's a lie, then there's a lack of love involved, and there's a lack of respect, because you feel like, well, I'll just keep that lie to myself because people couldn't handle the truth or whatever. There's a lack of, so it's like, what his whole thing that it's built off, it might have inspired people in the short term, but if, as he himself is admitting in the emails, that he doesn't sleep that great, that he doesn't feel that good, like in himself, that he's tired a lot, and then he's overworking with he's overtraining with these West Side workouts that he's doing, and then having to do steroids to maintain energy levels and recovery and whatever else it is, because he's literally addicted to training, and admits that pretty much in the apology video, that he's addicted to training and didn't feel that good, and so pretty much says has to use steroids, and that there's a time and a place for it, and his situation warrants it, and that the steroids have helped him out a lot. Well, then it's not the diet and the lifestyle that's helped him out a lot. So the whole house of cards is built off of a lie. And so, like I say, yes, it may have inspired people in the short term, but in the long term, when there's arrogance, when there's lying, when there's deception, there's so many holes, there's so many blind spots, there's so many holes, that the foundations aren't in place, and the foundations aren't based off of love then, and they're not based off of trust, and they're not based off of truth. So it's only limited anyway. So if you have to help people in the short term, those people are gonna relapse when either they see a lie like this come out, or then down the line when the truth that your lifestyle isn't actually the full healing lifestyle that you claim it to be. It's a matter of time. And not to say that buying time isn't valuable, but buying time based off a lie. Whereas we look up to people who are deeply emotionally injured and narcissistic, which I'm not saying I've not been that guy in the past, and I'm not still having to work, got a lot of work to do to do this. I'm still choosing to put myself on camera and to share my opinion for some reason, and I don't fully understand the motives, but I feel like, having been someone that's been down these paths and been somewhat of an influence and been in the health and nutrition and fitness industry, that maybe an alternate voice might be worth sharing. One thing he said was the path to paradise is he believes the path to paradise is paved in hell, and I think that is a justification of pain inside, and to justify his attempts to run away from the pain, the little hurt boy inside, that feels he needs to prove himself to the world to get love, that feels he needs to earn it. I think a lot of people can relate, but the path that he's chosen to take is not the path to recovery. It's not the path to health. It's not the path to healing. For me, the only solution I've found that's actually given me some faith and long-term results is the studying divine truth. And this isn't here to promote that. I'm just saying that's the narrow path. That's the narrow path that so many of us, find. I don't know. I can't speak for other people, but that's the path. That's the hard path. It's not paved in hell. We're already in. Many of us are already living in hell. We just don't really realize it because we're surrounded by misery loves company. But the path to paradise is through love, right? And love doesn't just mean happiness. It means truth, and it means the truth of the pain that some of us are existing in, and surrendering to that and feeling into that. And I'm someone who's like a fraction down that path, but I can recognize that it's the truer path. It's the path for the soul, rather than the physical trying to alter every bit of, it's the radiation from the Wi-Fi, it's the chemicals in the food. It's the sunlight, it's this, it's that, it's everything physical, but not the soul. And the soul is where the work, if we want true salvation, if I can use that word, and to truly heal and to not be constantly chasing these new discoveries that for the short term you get there's this cycle of discovery, right, where you discover something new and you're like, it makes so much sense, it hits the intellect, all the intellectual light bulbs go off, boom boom boom, and then all the physical and the evidence in the body is like, yeah, like there's some buzz that happens, like the chakra wheels are start spinning because of the excitement in the head and the addictive chemicals going off, and then you feel better, you feel like this is the thing that's healing me, and then eventually you feel like an addict and you're chasing that feeling again, and you're like, well, the thing that I believed was healing me isn't working anymore, and so what is it, what's happening? And then you discover a new thing, and then you get into the whole cycle again. So there's that cycle of discovery that he's someone who's in, and then he's decided to share all this stuff and been very good at marketing and made a lot of money off of it, but fundamentally it was built off of a lie. And there's some really deep emotional wounds there driving the whole thing, driving the whole action. And bless him. Like, I hope he figures it out. I hope he figures it out. But it feels like the apology was just another chance. Oh, oh, sorry, Felix. Felix is calling me. I'll call you back in a minute, Felix. It felt like the apology was just another chance to say, real men own up to their stuff. It's like, uh, you know, okay, you're owning up to an apology to try and twist. Anyway, I won't go too far into that. But there are people out there like Troy Casey, the certified health nut, Tony Riddle, who have been about this life a lot longer, a lot less cartoonish in their approach and clickbaity in who they are. That I'd say are maybe healthier to look up to in that industry. And if you're looking for people like that, or even my friend Josh, who I did the podcast with, many of you might know him, with Ape, his products are organic and farm raised, and there's integrity there. Whereas with this, it's like if he's lying about his steroids, what else with the business is he lying about? The quality of the products and how the animals are treated to create those products, the integrity of everything. It's like I say, it should be a house of, well, I can't say should, but it's a house of cards. But again, if people are desperate, people are searching, here's a guy that came looking a certain way that other people with the same emotional injuries about themselves and the way they look and the way they feel bought into it. And I just hope those people that follow him find better role models, or for me, divine truth, Jesus, the greatest teacher of soul mechanics on earth. That's what I'd recommend. But yeah, that's it really. I just wanted to talk on Liver King. I thought there's people like David Goggins I've got an interesting take on I'd like to share as well. And just whatever situations arise, this is just going to be a platform for me to share sort of topical thoughts on things. So thank you for listening. Again, I've made like a separate YouTube channel, which will just be for these, which I'm not going to promote or anything. It will just to put it out on YouTube. So there's a video if people want to watch a video of me sat in a purple cape because it's kind of cold right now on my Moroccan sofa. But yeah, thanks for watching or listening, and appreciate you. Feel free to drop me a message if you listen to this, if you got any thoughts on the situation as well. And much love to you all. Godspeed.